They gave us a king, a queen, a love story, but one question has haunted The Lion King for nearly 30 years, and Disney never answered it. Who is Nala's father? Because when you pause the nostalgia and really look, the timeline doesn't add up. Nala isn't just Simba's childhood friend. She's royalty, she's heir to the throne, and yet we never see her father. Not once. Not in flashbacks, not in crowd scenes, not even in the shadows. Mufasa gets a legacy, Scar gets a backstory, but Nala, she gets silence. And once you notice it, it's impossible to unsee. Make sure you'll stay until the end, because the last theory will definitely shock you. Let's start with the facts we do know. Nala is introduced early in The Lion King as Simba's best friend. They play together, explore forbidden lands, and eventually reunite as adults to fall in love. When Simba takes his place as king, Nala becomes queen. But here's the problem. In a kingdom structured around lineage, legacy, and pride hierarchy, Nala's origins are never explained. We see her mother, Sarafina, once. She speaks a single line, "Your daughter's awake," and that's it. No name for her father. No explanation of her family status. But we do know that only royalty leads the pride, which means Nala, as future queen, must come from noble blood. And if Mufasa was king, then who was Sarafina with? This isn't just fan curiosity. It's a question that touches on the structure of power, family, and thematic symmetry in The Lion King. Simba's entire arc revolves around legacy. He inherits his father's crown, his father's voice, and the responsibility of the circle of life. But Nala, she inherits nothing visible. She just shows up, fully formed, with authority and love and purpose. She saves Simba from exile, convinces him to return, fights beside him in battle, and yet her own origins are treated as irrelevant. But they aren't, because who her father is, or was, may reveal things about the pride, about Scar, about exile, about what Disney chose to hide, and what they just didn't answer. Let's explore the leading theories. Yes, it's the most uncomfortable theory, but it's also the most widely accepted, simply because the film gives us so little else. In real lion prides, one alpha male typically mates with all the lionesses. It's a biological norm. So in that logic, Mufasa may be the father of both Simba and Nala, which would make them half-siblings. The theory isn't just biological, it's structural. Mufasa is the only adult male seen in the pride during Simba's youth. Scar is present but reviled. There are no other males, no other families. If Sarafina's cub was raised alongside Simba in the palace, there's an implication of shared parentage. But Disney never confirms this. And here's the thing. If this was canon, wouldn't they say so? Or did they avoid it? Because they knew what it would mean. In the Lion King official novelization by Elizabeth Rudnick, based on the live-action version, Mufasa is only confirmed as Simba's father. Nala's parents remain unnamed. This silence is intentional, and that raises a new possibility. What if Nala's father did exist, and we just never saw him? This theory suggests that a second adult male lion, not Mufasa, not Scar, once lived within the Pride Lands. He mated with Sarafina, fathered Nala, and was then exiled or killed before the events of the film. Possible? Absolutely. We know Scar was threatened by any male who might challenge his rule. We also know that when Mufasa ruled, there was peace, but also secrecy. If another lion posed a threat, whether by pride politics or bloodline, he might have been forced out. This theory adds tragic depth. Nala grows up unaware of her father's fate, or perhaps quietly told never to ask, and symbolically, it works. It turns Nala into someone who carries absence, loss, a missing piece, just like Simba. Together, they're not just mates, they're two heirs who grew up without fathers and chose to break that cycle. But there's one theory that fans return to again and again. The one no one wants to believe, but everyone can't stop thinking about. What if Scar is Nala's father? In the next part, we'll break down the darkest, most disturbing theory in the Pride Lands, and ask the question Disney was never willing to confront. Because if Scar fathered Nala, then everything changes. Let's confront the most uncomfortable theory head-on. What if Scar fathered Nala? It's a theory fans have whispered for years, usually in disbelief, but once you lay out the logic, it becomes harder to ignore. Let's start with the obvious. Scar is the only other named male lion in the Pride during the time Nala was born. We never see another. Not in the background, not referenced, not implied. And while Scar is portrayed as bitter, isolated, and even disgusted by the circle of life, he stays. He doesn't leave, which, in lion behavior, is important. But wait, would Scar really mate with a lioness like Sarafina? Here's the disturbing reality. In lion prides, once a new male takes over, it's common for him to eliminate the cubs of the previous alpha and breed with the lionesses to create his own bloodline. It's brutal, it's primal, and it's the natural model that the Lion King is loosely based on. In this theory, Scar may have either fathered Nala before Mufasa's death, covertly or even manipulatively, or after his takeover. It's dark, but the film itself touches these shadows. Look at Nala's escape scene in The Lion King. In the original film, she disappears for a long stretch of time. When she reappears, she's desperate, determined, and stronger. In early drafts of the film, according to The Making of The Lion King, there were even scenes of Scar pressuring Nala to become his queen, which were later cut for being too mature. This isn't fan fiction, it's part of the production record. In fact, in The Lion King 6 New Adventures book series, 1994, officially Disney licensed, Scar is portrayed as interested in mating to create an heir, but is rejected by all lionesses. This aligns with deleted ideas from the film's earlier scripts. So, is there proof? No, Disney never confirmed this theory. And it's likely they never will, because doing so would imply that Simba and Nala are either cousins or worse, half-siblings. But the lack of any alternative explanation makes the silence deafening. The writers didn't forget Nala's father, they just chose never to mention him. And in a story built around legacy, that omission is louder than any roar. If Scar fathered Nala, even subtly, it would reframe The Lion King entirely. Nala's challenge to Scar becomes not just rebellion, but a daughter standing up to her abuser. Her escape isn't just a search for help, it's survival. Her reunion with Simba becomes not just romantic, but healing, a reclaiming of her own story. Suddenly, the silent scenes with Scar, the looks, the tension, the lack of lines, carry enormous weight. It's not what's said, it's what's never acknowledged. And remember, this theory isn't about shock. It's about how The Lion King often flirts with tragedy behind its musical numbers. Death, betrayal, guilt, loss. Why not this too? Let's zoom out. Why would Disney never address Nala's father at all? Because any answer, Mufasa, Scar, or someone else, complicates the narrative. It introduces genetics, bloodlines, and the kind of realism the film tries to hide behind songs and sunrise montages. The truth is, The Lion King isn't built like a documentary. It's built like a Shakespearean tragedy. And in Shakespeare, orphans rise, lineages vanish, and the truth gets buried under crowns. In that light, maybe Nala's missing father isn't a mistake. Maybe it's a design. There's one theory that shifts everything, a hidden detail from a source most viewers missed that might point to Nala's real father. It doesn't come from the film, it comes from the remake, and it just might be the cleanest solution Disney ever gave. In part 3, we explore the new canon theory and how Beyoncé may have helped fix a 25-year-old mystery. In 2019, Disney released the live-action remake of The Lion King, directed by Jon Favreau. While the plot closely follows the original, it adds new dialogue, expanded scenes, and subtle changes, especially to Nala. Most notably, she's voiced by Beyoncé, which immediately shifted how seriously Disney wanted the audience to take her character. But buried in those updates was a quiet reveal. In the official prequel novelization of the remake, The Lion King: The Novelization, we learn that Nala's father was a lion named Taka. He had died defending the pride before Scar's rise to power. Because the name Taka is a deep-cut reference to Scar's real name in older extended canon, including The Lion King, A Tale of Two Brothers, one of the 6 New Adventures books officially approved by Disney in the 90s. So, is Nala's father Scar? Not necessarily. In this remake-based canon, Taka appears to be a different lion entirely, a noble warrior, not the bitter and scheming Scar we know. Whether this is a retcon or an intentional split of characters is unclear, but here's what matters. Disney used the opportunity of a remake to fill in the blank quietly and cleanly. Instead of answering directly in the film, they offered the solution in a side book: a name, a role, a death, and no incest. Problem solved, sort of. Let's be honest. Most casual viewers never read tie-in novels, and Disney knows that. By placing Nala's father in The Lion King, the novelization, they give fans who care an answer, without disrupting the story for everyone else. But whether it counts as true canon is debated. Because if this new character Taka is meant to be Scar with a backstory rewrite, it contradicts years of established lore. And if he's someone new, just a lion who died before the film begins, then the story still leaves the father absent in the movie itself. So, which is it? Disney, as usual, stays silent, and the mystery remains. Why didn't they just show him? They could have added a line, a flashback, a name. Instead, they gave us Serafina, and silence. Here's another possibility, one that breaks from the others entirely. What if Nala's father wasn't part of the royal bloodline? What if he was a rogue, a passing lion? Someone Serafina chose outside the pride? It's not romantic. It doesn't fit the fairy tale mold. But in real lion behavior, it happens. Female lions occasionally leave the pride to mate with outsiders, bringing in genetic diversity. If Serafina did this, Nala could have been the result. This theory makes Nala unique. She's raised inside the royal pride, but her bloodline is not pure monarchy. She's an outsider raised as an insider, and that has powerful symbolism. Because when Simba returns, it's Nala, not any male lion, who challenges him. She questions his right to lead. She refuses to bow to fear, and she holds her own. If her bloodline came from outside the system, maybe that's why she could see its flaws. And maybe that's why she was the only one brave enough to say,
"The hyenas take over the Pride Land. Everything's destroyed."
In some ways, this is the most modern theory of all. Nala's power doesn't come from lineage. It comes from action. She's queen not because of her father, but because of her spirit. This flips the Lion King's entire structure on its head. Simba inherits, Nala earns. And when they rule together, it's not just a restoration of bloodlines. It's a reconstruction of what power means in the Pride Lands. Maybe that's the whole point. Forget deleted scenes, forget biology. There's one final theory that may explain everything, and it comes from the world of musicals. Because in The Lion King on Broadway, Nala's father isn't missing. He's right there. And what that version reveals might be the most satisfying answer yet. If you really want to understand a Disney character's backstory, don't just watch the movies. Go to the stage. When The Lion King premiered on Broadway in 1997, it wasn't just a musical adaptation. It was a full reimagination of the story. Julie Taymor, the show's visionary director, deepened character arcs and cultural context. And one of the biggest changes? Nala. In the Broadway version, Nala gets an entirely new solo song, Shadowland. It's a haunting ballad she sings before leaving the Pride Lands. A song about exile, about fighting for her people, and about the pain of leaving her mother behind. But that's not all. In the stage production, it's confirmed that Nala's father is not present. He's dead. There's no ambiguity. He's not royal, he's not named, he's not Scar, he's just gone. This confirms what many fans long suspected. Nala's strength doesn't come from her lineage. It comes from loss. Like Simba, she carries grief, but hers is quiet, hidden, emotional, not mythic. And that changes how we see her entirely. At first glance, the question of Nala's father seems like a plot hole, an oversight, a Disney detail brushed aside. But maybe it's something more, because in The Lion King, every character represents a different kind of wound. Mufasa loses control and pays the price for trusting his brother. Simba loses his father, publicly, violently. Scar loses power and twists that loss into cruelty. But Nala? She loses something no one talks about, a parent whose absence shapes her but never defines her. She rises without being chosen, fights without being crowned, leads without being led, and in a film obsessed with royal bloodlines, that makes her the most quietly radical character of all. By the end of The Lion King, Simba has reclaimed his throne. The sky clears, the land heals, the circle of life continues, but this time, it's different, because Simba is not alone. He stands beside Nala, and someone who knows the weight of silence. Someone who carries strength that didn't come from a name. And maybe that's why their cub, the one shown at the very end, is so important. That cub isn't just heir to Mufasa, it's heir to Nala too. Not just legacy, but reinvention. Not just tradition, but change. So after all this, who is Nala's father? The answer might be everyone and no one. A lost mate, a political casualty, a forgotten line of kings, or simply a storytelling gap left open on purpose. Because The Lion King isn't just about bloodlines. It's about what you choose to do when no one tells you you're special. And Nala proves you don't need a famous father to be the strongest one in the story. So, which theory do you believe? Was Nala's father Mufasa, a forgotten warrior, a nameless rogue, or was he never meant to matter at all? Drop your theory in the comments. I want to hear what you think the truth is. And if you love uncovering emotional depth and hidden stories from the animated films we all grew up with, give this video a like and subscribe to Hidden Behind the Screen. By clicking the bell, you're joining a community of movie lovers who believe these stories still have more to tell. Until next time.